Welcome to Offscreen. This week we're reading The Fifth Wave by Susannah Grant. 4 waves of increasingly deadly alien attacks have left most of Earth decimated. Cassie is on the run, desperately trying to save her younger brother.
So I'd never heard of this book series before. I'm assuming you hadn't either.
I had not,
So
no.
we're not really the demographic for this sort of thing.
It is a young adult series of books,
Yeah.
I guess, written by Rick Yancey, who is known for his suspense, fantasy, and science fiction aimed at, as I said, young adults.
Yeah.
Um,
Is this like his big hit series? Has he had others?
Yeah, he's written other books, but this is the Fifth Wave is a trilogy, so I think the filmmaker's goal here is
Oh, of
franchise,
course. Oh, of course.
right? Which there's quite a few of these young adult franchises or
It
aspirational
wasn't
franchises.
like 10 years ago, it wasn't even a thing. Now it's like
Did the term not exist 10 years ago?
if it did, it was not nearly as
Right
as
now,
widely known. I feel like
now it's very buzzwordy.
yeah, thanks to like Twilight.
Twilight, Hunger Games,
Yeah.
Divergent.
I feel like
But before
Twilight,
that, is Harry Potter not a young adult fiction?
I
Or
think it's even younger than young adult is trying to be. Or maybe it
Harry Potter?
yeah, or maybe it kind of grew into young adult. I think it started out much more just a children's story. And then
Okay.
I think we like the people our age kind of grew up with the books and then it became more of a young adult series in the later ones. Anyway, should I read the summary?
Yeah, I read the
Do we have
summary.
any more? Okay.
Read the summary.
All right. At first, Cassie is just a normal teenager. She's on the soccer team at school and has a crush on a guy named Ben who she meets at a party. Then comes the invasion. An enormous alien ship appears in Earth's orbit, and in 4 waves of increasingly deadly disasters, most of the planet's population is killed. Soldiers arrive to evacuate children first to the nearest army base, but in the commotion, Cassie gets separated from her 6-year-old brother Sam. Left behind, she witnesses the soldiers killing all of the remaining adults. It was a trap. Turns out the soldiers are actually host to the aliens, called simply Others. Cassie flees, now on a mission to save her brother. Despite the fact that he's only 6 years old, Sam is meanwhile recruited into the would-be army of children alongside, who else, Cassie's crush, Ben. Together, their training squad is selected to participate in the first strike back against the Others. But while they're on the mission, Ben discovers the truth that in fact the army are the Others. They've been training them to kill the alien. Oh, I'm sorry. They haven't been training them to kill the aliens. They've been trained to kill the rest of the humans. That's the fifth wave. Just as Ben makes his escape from the base, Cassie infiltrates it. She's reunited with Sam, and soon all three of them bump into each other. They fight their way out just as the entire base is destroyed. Apparently, there are more survivors out there who have learned the truth and started fighting back. It's only once they've reached safety that Ben remembers Cassie from the party back before all of this started. And it has only started.
Yeah. I can understand why you're fumbling over
Oh, please.
the synopsis.
We
I
shouldn't spoil our conversations like this. You
What?
asked me before we started how I felt. I said I thought it was pretty good, and you laughed at me for it.
I did.
And now I already know where we both stand on this, but we're gonna have to talk it out anyway.
We'll talk it out.
I thought it was surprisingly like not it didn't fall into a lot of the cliche traps that these kind of stories often do. It still has to do a few things that are, typical of the genre and that are going to get those teen hearts throbbing.
Oh God.
But
Kill me now.
there were a lot of things that like were set up and paid off, and like it was a pretty
In the most contrived, they'll mention one thing and then like 3 pages later it'll happen.
Oh no. I mean like even the biggest one, like the in terms of like how long in between the setup and the payoff was just the very beginning to the very end. I thought it was a nice touch how I said like Ben doesn't really realize where he's seen her. I mean, they know that they're classmates. They remember each other from school.
Because Ben's like the cool jock and
But
she's like
yeah, but then
not.
it's not until the very, very last scene that he's like, oh, you're the one that I saw at the party. And then they just actually start like catching up like old friends, and then we kind of like
Well, no,
zoom
it just
out.
like ends.
I know.
It
Well,
ends
that's where it ends. But
well, you're assuming that they catch up like old friends.
that's the vibe it was, I think, going for, and it was a nice touch, I thought, to end on that very small personal note in what is otherwise a really like huge epic scale kind of movie.
Sure.
It had a really nice feeling to it, and it I thought was a nice lead in to the next movie.
At least they accomplished something with this first chapter of the trilogy. Like, at least
What
it
did
has
they...
like a resolution in that she
Oh, you
found
mean
her
just
younger
plot
brother.
wise?
Yeah,
Yeah.
plot wise. It's not like it just ends abruptly
Yeah.
mid thought.
Yeah, no.
So in that sense, that's a positive. I really felt that it hit all of the cliches.
Okay, like
Even
what are
even
some
going
of them?
back to the love triangle that we're presuming is
Right,
going
the
to develop.
Twilight-esque love triangle. So she's got the guy Ben that she has a crush on from high school, but then when she goes on the run to like find her brother, she kind of runs into this guy out in the wilderness named Evan, who apparently his whole family has died from one of the waves is like a disease that wiped out a bunch of people, and so that killed the rest of his family, and now he's just alone in this farmhouse, and he takes her in, and they of course grow very close, and
It gets very intimate.
yeah, it gets steamy.
It gets a little steamy.
She sleeps with him even before she gets it on with her actual crush, Ben.
She never gets it on with her actual crush.
No, not yet. Not yet.
But I hope, I hope in the second chapter, in the second installment, she's pregnant. That'd be the best twist.
Yeah, like Evan is definitely like the Taylor Lautner character.
I don't know Twilight that well.
He's the he's the werewolf one.
Okay. Evan is also, we should say, he's an other.
Right, they reveal later in the story that he's actually one of the aliens, but
like all this plot stuff is just beyond dumb.
When he met Cassie, it awakened something in his heart, Steven.
Yeah, it did.
The human side of him.
He's the only person in the entire world who had something awaken in his heart.
What?
And he just so happened to see the person that was able to do the awakening.
Sure. I mean, okay, wait, is he a hybrid or something? He's not.
No, so what they were saying was that
I don't know.
all of these humans had been there, and some of them had been, like, infected,
Uh-huh.
and had this latent, like, parasite or whatever in them, and that was the
Right,
other.
right.
And then when the other mothership showed up,
Like
that
activated, yeah.
them, like, Manchurian Candidate style. And Evan also now is, like, a super badass as a result. And
Yeah.
could be, like, super
He fights
natural.
like he has
fights
like
like Captain
inhuman,
America.
yeah, like inhuman fighting abilities.
Um,
But I mean, you got to know going into this script that these kind of things are going to happen, so you just roll with it. I feel like the things.
Okay, but if I've seen that like 6 dozen other times, it has to do something other. It has to do something beyond that to be worthwhile, right? It can't just recycle these tropes.
Yeah, but I feel like, okay, look, every story pretty much is going to have some things in it that are cliche, and I got the sense from this that at least it knew what was cliche and what wasn't, and
I don't have a problem with the cliches so much as it doesn't elevate them in any way.
maybe it doesn't elevate the cliches themselves,
It doesn't
but I thought
elevate
it had
them.
other things going on.
Well, what did you like about it?
Okay, here's like my favorite thing about it that goes totally counter to what you're complaining about. It was like super dark at times. This is like, there's some messed up stuff that happens in this.
I found it all very perfunctory, really. Like, I didn't buy it. I flirted with darkness. And yeah, a shit ton of people died, but
it was like, I
like,
thought
everyone just went on about their way.
No, but it took some really like surprising turns. Like, okay, there's a part where it's during the like third, I think, wave is the disease one, whatever, and there's like a quarantine zone at their school, and Cassie goes to visit her friend who is in quarantine because she's sick. Cassie's mom is also there because she's like a doctor, so she's helping out.
Mm-hmm.
She gets really pissed off at Cassie for going. She's like, "You're gonna get sick. Get out of here. You shouldn't be visiting your friend." And then in the next scene, her mom is just dead. It's her funeral, and it's like, whoa, okay. I thought the risk here was Cassie getting sick, but no, it's the mom, and suddenly.
I think they played it as though Elizabeth was going to get sick.
Well, or
and
that,
then
yeah.
they pulled the rug out, and it was Lisa, the mom, that got sick.
So yeah, I liked it. I liked it for doing things like that.
That's just like a bait and switch, though. I don't know.
To me, that takes like some nerve on the part of the writer, because that's
the part that I thought was like darkest or funniest
How are those the same thing?
Well, it's funny when you see how it evolves from there.
Okay.
But she says, uh, like it was around the same time, I think a little before. That's the last time I saw Ben Parrish. I guess he's dead now. And
Uh-huh.
just how, like, matter of factly she said that was
I
pretty amusing. But then, of course, obviously, Ben Parrish isn't dead because, come on,
Right.
like, look at the story.
But we've talked about this, I believe, once or twice before. The voice in your head is not always the best actor, especially if you're already of the mindset that this is a bad story.
I wasn't of the mindset.
a
I told
proper
you I enjoyed the Harry Potter movies well enough. I enjoyed the first Hunger Games, which is the only one I've seen. I've only seen one Twilight, and it was pretty bad.
I don't know.
I saw Divergent.
I feel
It's
like
pretty bad.
I feel like you weren't trying because I feel like
I was trying.
a
I
competent.
was trying. There's just lines of dialogue like "Home is you, me, and Sam," which is something that
That's cheesy. Yeah, you gotta have lines like that for the trailer.
no.
What about okay?
Here's
What about
here's one of my larger objections, and this is like on a structural level, so maybe you can push back against it. They took a long time to get to the point. The fifth wave is like is what the movie is called. We don't need to hear the first four waves in such excruciatingly mundane detail.
What are you talking about? The first 4 waves went by really
Yeah,
fast.
we have her lecturing us in voiceover for like 45 pages. It's really long and tedious. It took me
The
forever.
tsunami and the earthquake.
It took me forever to read the screenplay. Like, literally, it took me like 3.5 years. I'm like,
Literally, really.
literally.
I actually made a note on here that, hold on, within 5 pages, the power outage happens, the earthquake happens, and the tsunami.
But for them to get back up to the first scene, and
Uh-huh.
and there's no stakes to anything that comes before the first scene in like a survival movie because you know the person survived. You know your protagonist
Right,
has
okay.
survived.
Well, that's a separate issue. You were complaining about the disasters being drawn out. I don't think they were. Like I said, like
they're just
3 of them happened within 5 pages. Like, what do you want? That's fast. I thought it had to do that. That was the first
why
act.
do you
was
need
all-
5 waves?
I
Make
don't
it
know.
2 waves. It's a long time before they get back to the first scene. It's like
Well,
in
yeah,
the
okay.
50s.
I'll give you that because it's doing that same thing again that we keep finding in all these scripts where you have a scene in the beginning that actually comes much later and we catch up
Does that
to
work
it.
for you in this one?
No, it doesn't really, but it's not the worst one that we've read because at least in this one there is a surprise reveal once we catch up to it again later. The opening scene is like Cassie, she's scavenging through the wasteland or whatever, and she comes to a gas station. There's like a wounded soldier inside. She draws a gun on him because she doesn't trust anyone at this point. Anyone could be one of the others in disguise. So she tells him to put his weapon down, and he does, but then he's got his hand on like his wound, and he starts raising his hand, and there's a glimmer, which
Like
she
a flash
thinks
of silver.
she thinks it's a weapon, so she just shoots him. But when we come back to the scene later, we realize that the thing he was holding that glimmered was like just a cross necklace, which again is like really super dark twist, which I like.
This is also to me. None of this played. It's just also forced.
There aren't a lot of teen movies that would take that kind of a dark turn.
I don't know. Hunger Games is this dark. The later Harry Potter books are this dark, and both of those feel so much more lived in and genuine. This is like the screenplay. I think finds a lot of nice small moments. Like there's one that I made note of, or they find a lot of. I don't want to say nice. They find a lot of small moments, like Cassie making Sam laugh in the refugee camp. But it didn't feel. It's not real to me. I don't know. It's just like very strained in terms of trying to be like heavy and weighty. To me,
I don't know.
I don't think that the abundance of voiceover works.
No,
either.
no, I don't like that either. There are a lot of things.
It's just-
There are a lot of things I don't like about this.
Okay.
Let's be clear on that. But maybe I had the bar set so low with the genre that I was still there was room to be surprised. Maybe that's it. Maybe you set the bar too low, but then that was what like tainted your entire reading. I don't know. I'm not pointing fingers, but I overcame the full first act, which I agree. The first act was too long, and it took a while to actually. It took a long time to get to. Oh, I have to save my brother. That's what the actual like second act, the meat of it is about. It did take a long time to get to that. I didn't like the flash forward at the beginning. I didn't like the voiceover. It also did a really annoying thing in the first act where it jumped back and forth in time a lot, which didn't really work at all for me.
I actually really disliked all the stuff with Sam and Ben, and
Uh,
I enjoyed the screenplay more when it stuck with Cassie.
hmm. I was okay with the Sam and Ben
Because it was
stuff.
just a lot of the same stuff over and over. Them
Yeah,
training,
it didn't progress
and
very
there's no
fast.
stakes to them training.
Yeah, there's a
Like
lot.
there's real shit going on outside of the military base. Like Cassie's like trying to stay alive, whereas
Well,
they're
I
playing like capture the flag basically.
yeah, but I think you're supposed to also look at it through the lens of like we as the audience, we know these are actually the aliens, and we know that somehow this is all a ploy.
But we don't need to see like 10 different.
There were like
Lit-
two,
no, there
three,
weren't.
three maybe.
There were like 5 different. There were like honestly, there were like 5 times where they played like Squad 4 versus Squad 53. I'm just looking off of your
I think
page.
there were 3 of them, but there was also a real mission they went on where the stakes were actually life and death.
Yeah,
And
and so why? Just tell me why Resnick, the alien person, is out there like shooting at them. Why does she need to check up on? Why does she need to check up on them? Their whole plan is just moronic.
I thought
Like, if you're the aliens and you have this big ass spaceship in the sky and you can create plagues and cause disease and turn the power out, you don't need to have the humans kill other humans.
Well,
just kill the humans yourself.
That's a good question. That is a good question.
Like, you could literally just kill the humans with like a snap of the fingers and be done with it.
I can only assume, and I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt here, because I actually wrote this down too. Why couldn't you just kill? Like, they purposely saved just the kids. They killed all the adults. They could have, if they could kill the adults, they could have easily just killed all the kids.
Kids are easier to kill than adults. No joke.
Right. That's a proven fact.
Yeah.
Well, Home Alone makes a good case against it, but
Well, that's a fine film.
um,
Much better than this one.
but yeah, I can only assume there's a reason that they're going to explain later. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. Also, kids are much more impressionable. You know, maybe they're trying to like brainwash them or
except the kids, um, the kids don't buy into the indoctrination at all. Like from the jump, like half of them are like, "This shit's whack. Where's my dad? You promised my dad would be here in like 4 hours."
It's been like 4 weeks now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm sorry. Have you ever seen a 6-year-old crank out 27 pull-ups?
I could do a lot of pull-ups when I was little because I didn't weigh anything.
I don't know. I don't think Sam is I don't think Sam is running through like diving into trenches, shooting people.
We'll just wait and see in the actual movie, won't we?
Pull-ups. He's 6 years old.
I thought it was.
Why is Cassie, who's recovering from a gunshot wound in the thigh, how is she doing leg workouts at the same time?
That's a lot of time that passed.
No, she's doing them at the same time in the screenplay.
What do you mean at the same time?
She's like dressing her wounds in between calf raises and box step ups. It's just like there's no reality to that.
So maybe,
and that really betrays the story.
Maybe they over described the leg wound. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe
Except she passed out on the ground.
Got grazed.
She passed out on the ground.
Out of shock.
Yeah, maybe.
These are incidental things. Like these are not like deep plot issues.
They're not deep plot hole. They're not deep plot issues, but they betray the realism of the story. If the story's going for like such gravity, and then you have such like try hard.
I thought it was okay.
Try hard things like that. I don't know. There's just a lot I object to in the screenplay.
Whatever. I thought that was all.
It felt overly plotty to me, like needlessly plotty. Just building in more twists and turns.
I think it needed that. Otherwise, it would have not had enough to develop the story.
Well, they could have cut maybe 40 pages from it. It's 125 pages.
It is long. But
I don't know, man.
It
took me so long to read this. Like nothing. Like there's so much time spent with Cassie and Evan on the farmhouse, at the farmhouse, working out and having sex.
Yeah, I think the Evan stuff was the weakest part for me, which I think it says something that I left that out of the summary entirely.
Right.
Because, it didn't... That summary is proving really useful to revealing things like this. If the summary is easy to write, it's probably good. This was not like the easiest one to write, but it wasn't the hardest. But I did have to take out the Evan thing entirely. Because, he's kind of not super important or...
Well, it's kind of important, right?
I think, I don't know.
He impregnates Cassie.
You don't know that. You don't know she's pregnant.
I'm just saying there's probably not birth control after post-alien invasion.
Maybe since he's an alien, his seed won't take. I don't know.
Maybe it's extra
potent.
Yeah.
But he just like kind of swoops in at the end and saves the day. He like shows up at the military base when they're all escaping, and he kind of sacrifices himself, or so it seems, to help them escape. But I'm sure he's coming back. One other scene that I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. This is when Cassie is infiltrating the base. She runs into this doctor lady who is the one that always implants the chips. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to implant Cassie. And Cassie like knocks her unconscious or something like that. Or I think she chokes her or something. Yeah. And shoves the chip like up her nose. And then a few minutes later, turns out she like wakes back up. She like snaps out of it and comes for Cassie again. And she thinks at this point, she thinks that Cassie has the chip in her. And so she presses this button that kills you if you have the chip in you. Yeah, and because it's actually in her, it kills her. She just killed herself with the button. Right. I don't know how she couldn't tell it was in her nose. That seems like a bit of an oversight. Like, it was like way up her nose. I feel like you would feel that. But anyway,
she's just coming off of like a concussion or being knocked out. So
I thought that was like a really, really fun scene. And I think that's what that was. It was fun. The script was fun for me. Like, I think you're taking it too seriously.
I just didn't have any fun. I had no fun.
I think you're taking it too seriously.
Sam has some real gems of dialogue. At one point, Ben promises him that he'll return, and Sam says, "A promise is just a lie."
He's 6. Come on.
He's 6. What 6-year-old says that? That'd be a great Father John
Misty. That happens all the time. That's like, when kids ask, like, can we do this? And the mom says maybe, and they always say, like, maybe just means no.
No, because now...
It's the same thing.
No, because they're playing it as though he's so hardened now, and...
When was that? What
page 81. That? And then immediately after that, Ben says, like, goodbye, Sam. And he says, "I'm not Sam. I'm Nugget."
His nickname in the army is Nugget.
And the military nicknames are so dumb. That's so corny.
Yeah, Ben was Zombie, and they had like Oompa.
Oompa's the doctor, right?
I think so.
So Ben like just straight up starts asking him for legitimate medical advice, like where in the torso can I get shot? This kid's been appointed the medic for literally 16 hours.
How old
he knows
is he
nothing. He's like 14 years old. He probably failed out of middle school biology.
But he's got a real knack for it.
Yeah, sure he does.
There was one line I thought was funny relating to Sam. That's a description line where it says, "In Cassie's arm, Sam makes little scared kid noises." But I know what that means.
That's fine. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
There was another one that I actually liked earlier on. They're talking about how like everyone's freaked out because of the invasion, and they said like only Sam, who still lives in a world of magic, acts like it's not a huge deal, which is like a nice nod to childhood, I guess.
Yeah. But there was a line I liked too, where this is a voiceover thing actually, where she's like getting shot at by she can't see who, but presumably some of these alien dudes, and she says something like, "Even if you're the last person on Earth, especially if you are, you can't let it in this way." I like that.
I didn't. That's like a faux profundity.
Well, she went on to say something about how if you try to wipe everyone out, the few people that are left are not going to be the weak ones. They're going to be the really strong ones.
Just again speaks to how dumb the other's plan is.
I thought that was a cool observation. That was a nice line.
Maybe.
But that's okay. That's kind of what I was saying about cliches. I want to make a point about cliches because I'm okay with them.
I'm not opposed to cliches.
Times. Yeah, I mean, there are times where it is bad, but mostly cliches are cliches for a reason, and it's because they work. And I think if you can acknowledge and try to be aware as often as possible of when you are indulging in cliches, that will allow you to just kind of skim through them quickly, just get them over with, so that it reads quickly and you get sooner to the stuff that is original and novel. And I think this did that for me. Like, the stuff that was cliche, it didn't pretend like it was clever. It just spit it out because that's like how it works. It makes the story work, and then you get to the next part that it's more original. So I was okay with it.
Um,
Why are you looking up Terrence Malick? I don't like where
because
this is going.
he said something similar to the effect that you did.
Oh,
Um, when asked about cliches, and this is taken from like the 70s.
this interview?
This interview, yeah. Basically, this isn't a real interview. He doesn't do interviews anymore.
Oh,
But they just piece together
okay.
past interviews. It's a joke. But this is that stuff he actually said. When people express what is most important to them, it often comes out in cliches. That doesn't make them laughable. It's something tender about them. As though in struggling to reach what's most personal about them, they can only come up with what's most public.
Okay.
Which is kind
I
of like
kind
along
of
the same lines
agree
of
with
what you're
that.
saying.
Or like cliches is almost like
It's like a shorthand
it's like
for
something
a
universal.
shared experience.
Yeah, something universal.
I didn't feel that was necessarily the case here in the way that like the voiceover of Days of Heaven.
I've not seen that. You know that.
Well, you know how I feel about it. It's one of my most favorite movies ever. But that I think is like the high watermark for voiceover narration in movies.
Well, yeah, I like I said, I don't like the voiceover here, and I gotta start. I'm gonna assemble what I'm calling like the basic bitch screenplay starter kit, which is you do one of those flash forwards, you have voiceover, which probably begins and then disappears for most of the middle, and then comes back at the very end.
Which is the case here.
Well, no, this was somewhat consistent throughout.
I felt like
But
it disappeared once she caught up
okay,
to Evan. Once we
kind
got
of
to the present.
yeah, kind of. But
anyways, go ahead.
anyway, well, I don't know what else is in the kit, the starter kit yet, but those are two of them, and I'm gonna keep
pretty good.
adding to it.
It's pretty good.
Like if you just want to have a screenplay that feels like a cool with a K Hollywood screenplay, those you have to do those things.
It's funny that like the last 4 at least that we've read have had like a flash forward thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. How could I'm just nitpicking now. I'm just looking at all these things that I hated, but like why? What is evacuating mean? It means evacuating, right?
Yeah, he's a little kid. He doesn't know how to say evacuating.
So that's like the first time we learn he can't speak properly.
That's one. It's not
on
like
page 112 out of 125. That's the first time he can't say a word.
Why is that so weird?
Because
kids...
it's strained cuteness.
No,
it's saccharine.
Okay, it is a little bit, but
I don't think they just reunited. They want to make it be all cutesy.
But I don't think it's a strain on believability. I think there are plenty of kids who can say most things, but then when they learn a new word for the first time, they don't learn it right.
But in this context, that's what they're going for. That's what they're doing.
Fine.
I see no argument against it. And for the majority of the screenplay, they put this 6-year-old through like hell and basically just beat the shit out of him. And then they want the payoff on page 112 of him being all adorable. Like
that's
bullshit.
The
it's
contradiction.
manipulative.
That's the contradiction. People are complex, Stephen.
No,
you can be at once
people
innocent,
are complex. The screenplay is not.
You can be at once innocent and jaded. And he's had to grow up too fast, but there are still some things about him that are childlike. And I really did like though. There was one illustration of like you were complaining about how he was like, I'm not Sam, I'm Nugget, and he's like supposed to seem all hardened. But I thought there was a nicer moment which was serving the same purpose where they were digging the chip out of his neck, and Cassie was preparing him like, this is really gonna hurt. Okay, I need you to be brave, and he's like, no big deal. He doesn't even react, and she's like, oh dang, okay, he's been through some stuff. I thought that was a really nice moment.
And she was like expressed a little sadness, or there was like
sadness,
which was nice.
That was a really good moment.
That was good. But the reason why the Nugget thing like sucks so much is because it's a clear payoff to earlier when Sam tells Ben that his name is Sam, not Nugget. It's the inverse of that.
Yeah.
It's just such a trite payoff. It's like it's a perfunctory callback.
What's a non-perfunctory way of calling that back?
I don't know how you do it. Just don't do it so cleanly and neatly and obviously.
Maybe somebody's calling. Maybe even Cassie, when she first sees him, is calling like Sam, and he's not listening. He doesn't even hear that name anime. And then someone else calls Nugget, and he looks.
That would have been less.
That would have been
nice.
Right? That would have been nice.
Yeah.
I could have written this.
Get your right on.
Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, probably.
I'm not going to be swayed by you. I had my opinions formed before we talked.
Okay.
I was prepared to consider the script
Okay.
and even recommend the writer.
You're just saying that because I
No,
don't
I'm
believe
really
you.
not.
I
No,
don't
I'm
believe
really,
you.
really not.
I don't believe you.
But I was going to qualify the recommendation as it clearly has been rewritten once.
Yeah.
So it's the combined power of those two writers that gets the
It's
recommend.
been rewritten a third or fourth time.
But we don't
before it comes to the screen.
Right, but we haven't read that. But I'm just saying the combined work of these two writers amounts to a recommend for me for the writer for the writing, but the script is just a consider.
Okay, we didn't say anything about Susannah Grant. She wrote Aaron Brockovich.
Right, yeah, she wrote Aaron Brockovich.
She's written a lot of stuff.
And Pocahontas.
And
she knows what she's doing, Steven.
Well, this isn't going to get a sequel. They're not making a second one. Wait, you just said you recommended this movie. I'll buy you a ticket. I want you to sit through it.
I'll sit through it, sure. I didn't say I would recommend the movie. I said the writers I would recommend in the script. I said consider, so calm down.
My eyes just...
Yeah, you're just seeing red.
Yeah, seeing red. That's what I was going for.
So, what's your verdict?
I'll pass on both.
Okay. Not surprised, I guess.
Yeah, and not look back.
Wow. I want to mention one thing before we wrap up. I discovered another podcast. Is this cool if I talk about this?
Yeah.
It's called The Real Truth Podcast, like REEL. I just think they're doing a very similar type thing. They talk about movies, not scripts specifically, but they talk about movies based on true events, and they talk about what's actually true and what's embellished, and kind of like separate the two, and just kind of get off on silly tangents, and they're very funny and clever. But anyway, I reached out to them because I listened to some of their podcasts and thought it was cool, and I thought we could benefit from some cross-branding, some synergy.
Oh, don't use those words.
Synergy.
Please don't use those words.
What? What's wrong with that?
Whatever. They're a dope podcast. I listened to the Wolf of Wall Street one, and I recommend it. It's a really good listen.
Yeah. Oops. I'm going to try and...
Yeah, shout out there. And they deserve a shout out because they're doing good stuff, I think. You think, too.
Yeah. Let me find their... What is their website? Oh, okay. Yeah, therealpodcast.com is the website.
Well, real with 2 E's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if you like our podcast, you probably will like theirs, and vice versa. So hopefully we'll get some of their fans too. We'll see. Also, let's do the usual spiel. We have a website, ospodcast.com. We have an email, info@ospodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes. You can still be the first one to review. It's not too late. We still haven't had one yet. We have a Twitter @ospodcasts. All the things.
All the things.
And if you have recommendations for scripts, let us know. Or if you just want to say hi or give us feedback, whatever. We're very open to that.
Daniel responds to all emails.
Yeah, I'm very responsive.
And also you can find the screenplays for past episodes and for the upcoming episode on our website.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I forgot. Okay. Next week, we're going to read a script from the 2015 Blacklist called Resurface by Pete Bridges. An underwater earthquake decimates a research crew working at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, leaving 2 survivors with limited resources to ascend 35,000 feet and reach the surface before their life support runs out.